I am really excited about poetry these days, and I decided that it is a great way to help you practice your rhythm. So today we're going to look at Paul Revere's Ride by a very famous poet named Longfellow. Now, Paul Revere was one of those individuals back in 1775 who was responsible for helping America separate from Great Britain. So we're going to read about his ride. He rode the horse and he alerted many people, many farmers and others that the British were coming and that it was time to fight in the Revolutionary War. Now, in each line, there are 4 beats, and I've put little dots on top of the syllables that I think should be stressed to make the rhythm sound good. Some of the dots could be debatable. There might be different places to put it, and I will point that out to you. Sometimes it's not going to sound exactly like the rhythm would sound if we're just speaking. Poetry maybe makes the rhythm a little bit different, and in order to make those 4 beats perfectly, sometimes we stress words that we wouldn't usually stress. Or maybe we stress syllables that we wouldn't usually stress. Some of these are also rhyming, so we want to try to bring that out. And I'm going to try to use some intonation to show which line should be connected to others. All right, let's try this. Listen, my children, and you shall hear. So you can clearly hear the 4 beats. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. So 75 means 1775. And if you know about American history, you'll know that the Declaration of Independence was in 1776. So this is right at the beginning of the Revolutionary War. He said to his friend, if the British march by land or sea from the town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch of the North Church Tower as a signal light. So basically, they don't know if the British are going to come by land or sea. And he wants his friend to hang a signal light in a belfry arch, which is a tiny little place at the top of the church where they have the bell. And then he'll be able to see it from far away. He'll be able to see that signal light. Notice here that I didn't stress hang. There's just too many important words in this line to stress. So to pick 4, I chose hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch of the North Church Tower as a signal light. So we don't stress church because that would just be too many things in a row to stress. North Church Tower, but North Church Tower. That's a very common way to stress a compound noun with an adjective. 1 if by land and 2 if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be, ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. So this takes place in Massachusetts, and Middlesex is the name of a county in Massachusetts. So he knows that if he sees the signal light once, they're coming by land. And if he'll see it twice, that means they're coming by sea. And he needs to warn everybody to get prepared and be in the right places in order to fight back. Okay, the next stanza. Then he said good night, and with muffled oar, silently rowed to the Charleston shore. So Paul Revere was very quiet and very quietly with muffled oar oared to the other side of the shore. And just as the moon rose over the bay, where swinging wide at her moorings lay, the Somerset British man of war, a phantom ship with each mast and spar, across the moon like a prison bar. So this means as he was quietly paddling his boat across the water, he did see a British ship sitting there. So he had to be quiet because the British didn't want messengers going around telling everybody what was going to happen. So he had to be sneaky. So that's why he has a muffled oar and he's very silent. Across the moon, like a prison bar, and a huge black hulk that was magnified by its own reflection in the tide. So here, magnified rhymes with tide. So I'm going to highlight both mag and tide. I'm not going to highlight nif. So it's not magnified, it's just magnified. That's the rhythm. So he's talking about this British ship. It's huge, it's black, and it looks even bigger because of its reflection in the water or in the tide. Meanwhile, his friend through alley and street wanders and watches with eager ears, till in the silence around him he hears the muster of men at the barrack door, the sound of arms and the tramp of feet, and the measured tread of the grenadiers. The grenadiers are soldiers who have grenades. So his friend, who's watching to see what's going to happen, does hear a lot of things happening around him, and he has to be quiet. There are British soldiers around who are defending the area, marching down to their boats on the shore. If you would like to hear the rest of this poem, check out my course, The Rhythm of English, which is either on Udemy or Skillshare. Thank you so much.